Have you ever said to yourself, I'll be moderate, or I can stop when I want to? But are you lying to yourself? Are your actions, if you look in the past, confirming this, or showing signs that you might be telling yourself what you want to hear? But in all reality, if you were to look at the actions that you have taken, it's not at all what's true. Although the idea of that sounds good, it often tends to be a financial bottomless pit when you pick up smoking again. It'll never be enough. It's always a race for the next hit, for the next high, for the next moment that you dissociate from the things that you know are a problem in your life. It's the lie we tell ourselves in order to justify relapsing again and again. Some of you watching this are aware you have this battle with weed addiction. Others of you might not feel the same way. Sure, marijuana has its benefits, but at the same time, there are plenty of people that in their journey of maturity and going through life, they find themselves realizing that where they were originally with marijuana and their relationship to it, where it was fun, it was an adventure, it was something that was a way to kind of enjoy life more, all of a sudden starts changing into the way that they just cope in their day-to-day life, how they get through things that maybe need to be changed in their life, such as a miserable job or a difficult relationship. And it's far easier to get through those things if you dissociate from them than it would be for you to replace those things. But sometimes replacing those things are the very things that need to happen in order for you to start really living the kind of lifestyle that you've always wanted to live. Because I'm sure on some level you've had goals and dreams and ambitions towards some greater future for yourself. But when you keep dissociating, when you keep smoking marijuana to get away from yourself, oftentimes those dreams and goals kind of get it put on pause and no real action ends up taking place towards those things. While some of you might still be in denial, for those of you who have tried to quit before, why is it that you keep returning? Because when you quit, I'm sure you had a plan, accepted the uncomfortable withdrawals that came with getting off of marijuana, and avoided the things you needed to, or at least you thought you needed to stay sober. You were emotionally motivated in those times. Yet when you went to relapse, you had a plan to not smoke as much, and you were emotionally motivated to start back up, as if all of those reasons why you chose to quit before really didn't matter or feel the same as they once did. This is the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. That's where some people will say, it's like this voice in the back of my head to where, I sabotage my success, or I tend to do things that I don't want to do, yet I don't know why I keep doing it. People consciously know that they maybe need to do things differently in their life, or change some of their behaviors or ways that they're going through coping. But oftentimes what happens is it's far easier to choose to avoid addressing those things, especially when taking a drag on a joint is something that immediately can shift that internal feeling that you have. It's a great way, if you don't feel good about who you are, where you are at, and where you might be going, to completely escape that internal reality. And that in itself tends to be the very addictive end of marijuana. So if this is something that you've ping-ponged back and forth with, if it's something that, you've said I'm going to quit, but then you find yourself lying to yourself again and starting back up by saying, I'll be moderate this time, or I'll stop when I want to, and I'll be in better control, yet you find yourself still picking those things up, and if anything, smoking them in higher quantities than you did prior, then what are you really doing? Because you're telling yourself one thing, and you're at the same time, when you relapse, destroying the very trust and foundation that you could be building with yourself. If anything, you're actually learning that you really can't trust your own decisions, that you aren't able to deal with this issue on your own, or else you wouldn't have it. When somebody says they're going to do something, like I'm going to quit something, they tend to do just that. It's not a temporary pause, as I like to call it, to where they end up relapsing through justification. It's something that they just do. There's somebody that says, hey, I'll be there at 10 o'clock. They show up at 9:50 because that's what they said they would do, and they're not going to be late or too close to that even. So if you find yourself in this internal dilemma to where you have all these good reasons you want to quit when you do, but then when you go to start back up, you have all these other reasons that you should start back up, that is a sign that you never got to the root cause. The different things that you addressed in this aspect consciously were not the problem. And if you were to get to the root of the whole system entirely and pull that up out and deal with that specifically, then the whole system dies. So the addiction falls away. And sometimes you'll even find that some of the other things that you were trying to stop doing, like having some anxieties or depression or better focus or be more motivated and trying to find ways to deal with your anger or whatnot, actually just fall away as well because they were part of that problem. So, if this is something that you're struggling with, just be real with yourself. And if this is nothing to you, then obviously my videos aren't for you. And that's also okay. We all have our different thoughts and opinions on things in life, and that's the beauty of this world. It would be pretty boring if we're all the same. Take care of yourself.